Happy Monday. Happy Monday. One and all. Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. What's up, Gunner? How you doing?
What is happening, my favorite stepbrother?
What's up, man? All good. What's up, Twiz? What's up, Sweenbowl, William Stark, Mr. Taz, John Dickerson, Tyler, Jim G, JM, Shante. Who else did I see here? Jeeb, Shantasia.
See some names you haven't seen before.
Some new faces, and we appreciate it. Jeeb, GS, XR, Anthony, what's up? What's up? Hope you guys are doing great. Hope everybody had an awesome weekend. Coach Marcus hanging out. Always good to see everybody. Mood Swing Bella, our girl.
Mood Swing in the house.
There she is. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. And man, not like we're lacking for things to talk about, D-Gun. It was
I gotta ask
busy weekend.
I got to ask you something real quick.
Yeah.
I've noticed something over the past several months, and when you don't know what I'm about to say, you get a little nervous. You get this sheepish looking grin on your face like, oh, geez, where's he going now?
Yes.
Is that an accurate assessment?
That is accurate. Yes. The top of the show, you never quite know what you're going to get with Derek Gunn. Hi, Peter. You never know what you're going to get. That's all I will say.
Well, you know what? I'm a little hurt by that. I try to throw you for a loop every now and then, but
true.
But it's not like I'm going to give you something that would embarrass you or make you uncomfortable.
I know it's from the heart, but I still don't know exactly where we're headed with this at times with you.
What the heck is that supposed to mean?
I think you know what it means. Twiz, what's up? Niners all day. Yeah. So actually that's part of the fun. The part of the fun of the show is the unknown. Yeah. I always say when I do sports talk radio, callers are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, as far as Gump would say.
So you're trying to say you're dealing with me is that what you're saying?
Correct. You are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, as far as once said. Yes.
Well,
Dag Kelly, what's up?
I take that as a compliment.
That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That means you are full of surprises. It means you're spontaneous. It means that you keep us on our toes, which is what we like. What's up, baby?
You have put me in a category of my family of what is wrong with you? Yes.
It's nice for me to say that because I'm usually the one that's said about. Usually it's what's wrong with you. Where do we need to who do we need to have you see? To straighten out this craziness. Yes. What's up, Jeremy?
John Dickerson says D Gunn's new personality is food swing fella compared to mood swing Bella.
I like that.
I like that. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That is good. I like that. All right. So we had a busy night last night. More than 50,000 people went to Lincoln Financial Field for a practice. It was an hour, 38 minutes. What's up, Barbara Carroll? Hour and 38 minutes. Great attendance. A Cowboys fan got booted out, I think, at one point, which was always good. That's never a dull moment, but fans got to see. Unfortunately, it's about the only time you can really see, unless you're part of a select group that goes to the everyday practice.
Correct.
So they did get a chance. Tyler, what's up? You get a chance to see it out there. So if anybody in the chat or anybody listening or streaming was there last night and you want to give us your impressions of what you saw, we will do that. That's for sure. But it was a busy day yesterday prior to the open practice. They cut Davion Taylor, Derek, who was a third. No, I've never made an impact. Let's face it. Third round pick who just, it was a pick based on sort of projection because he didn't play a ton in high school. If you remember, I don't know what denomination it was, but his religious beliefs precluded him from playing on Friday nights. And then he played at Colorado, and then, it just never quite worked out here for whatever reason. So that was sort of the first ball to drop here. And then after that, they went out and signed Myles, Jack, and Zack Cunningham to contracts to 1-year deals. And both guys were they didn't participate in practice, but they were at practice last night. You're talking about guys with a lot of experience, both of them. They started a lot of games in the league. Myles Jack of late with Pittsburgh, his early years with Jacksonville. Of course, Zack Cunningham has been a Titan, a Texan, sure I'm missing something else, but that's where he's been of late. But you talk about guys who have started a lot of football games in their lives. But here's my question for you, Derek.
Yes, Mr. Ellis.
Other than Davion Taylor, I don't think any of us really had. Let's be real.
I thought he'd be cut last year, to be honest.
Right. So we didn't really think he was going to be an impact, okay, to say the least.
No.
What does that tell you about the linebacking situation for the Eagles, and who should be worried most about their gig, so to speak?
Well, like we all knew, the linebacking is the weak link on this team. When you start chronologically stacking the weakest to the strongest positions on this Eagles team, the linebacking core definitely is the weak link on this team. And I've said it a number of times, and we talked about it several times last week. I'm not so sure Nicholas Morrow is going to be the starting will linebacker. Christian Ellis, who is a special teams player for them and had show flashes, is much bigger. And Morrow 6'1", 215, Ellis 6'3", 235. Then you go out and you get another linebacker, 6'1", 245, and another linebacker, 6'3", 230. They need some thump in the linebacking core. And I'm not saying that they're closely watching Nakobe Dean as well.
Yep.
Nakobe Dean is yet to prove himself, but Nakobe Dean is also a lighter size linebacker. Now, granted, there's some lighter linebackers weight-wise in the NFL that have been Pro Bowl players. Mm-hmm. And it's not fair to say, Nakobe Dean's in trouble. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they felt they needed an upgrade. And we don't know if these guys are upgrades. Yes, they have been in the league for a while. But as we talked about in the show, my concern is, Rob, when it comes to certain teams that give up on certain players quickly, especially certain positions, the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, what are we missing and why? Prime example, okay? Myles Jack, coming out of going into the draft, he was considered the number one linebacker in the draft, but he was the fifth linebacker taken because of a degenerative knee issue.
Yep.
And if you look at his career, he's had the knee issues his entire career, which has negated him from maybe doing some great things. He was in Pittsburgh last year. Pittsburgh is linebacker U, plain and simple.
Yep.
Pittsburgh gave up on him after 1 year, and I want to know why.
Yep.
And I don't know if we'll ever know that answer.
Yep.
And I'm not saying maybe he just didn't fit into the Steelers linebacking culture there. Yep. Maybe he can thrive here. They went out last year during the season. It took them X amount of games into the season to identify they needed to get bigger and stouter in the trenches. They go out and get in Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. Okay, and for the most part, that worked out fine. Now all of a sudden they go out and get not one but two bigger linebackers. Why? See, and that question is going to plague me until I see these guys fit in a Sean Desai, Matt Patricia's scheme. It looks good on paper right now, but there's a reason why these guys have been available up to this point, and I want to know why.
Yeah, it would seem to be more of an issue of Nicholas Morrow at the will spot than the on the ball linebacker spot with Nakobe Dean. But I think what this tells you is no one's safe. No one's safe here. Let's face it, Nakobe's either been a little bit nicked up, and it's not anything serious. He's been a little nicked up, and he hasn't really shown out too much when he's been on the field. I get it. It's only practice, and he may be one of those green light guys where just when it gets real is when he takes over. But that, and it sounds like there's been a lot of, and we'll talk to Chris Franklin. Chris Franklin's joining us coming up at 12:30, and he was there last night. He's there every single day. He's got boots on the ground. But, it sounds like there's been a lot of Christian Ellis coming in there for Nicholas Morrow, which doesn't necessarily bode well for him either. What's up, Robert? What is up, Fitness Rebel?
And I'm going to give props to where did I just see it here? Dank Green Kelly Burrito. The Panthers gave up on Hassan Reddick after 1 year. Look what he did here.
Right.
Jonathan Gannon. Arizona gave up on him after a double-digit season. He goes to Carolina for 1 year, double-digit season. He comes here, double-digit sack season. So that's a valid point. That's a valid point. But sometimes certain players don't fit in one scheme. They either flourish or flounder in another scheme. All I'm saying is it looks good on paper. I have to see it in practicality before I can make a final determination. It looks good now. Now, let's see. Obviously, they're going to be on a crash course in terms of getting up to speed and in terms of what is expected of them in this defense. But I think it's interesting, and it's going to be great conversation through the preseason games, through the final cuts, to see exactly what Cunningham and Myles Jack mean to this team.
Yeah.
I'm not dissing either one of them. They may turn out to be Pro Bowl linebackers in a Sean Desai defense. We don't know.
Right.
I'm just saying it's always interesting, especially at Cunningham. Cunningham hasn't had the history of injuries the way Myles Jack has.
I don't think he's performed as well of late as Jack has either. In fairness, look, I think this doesn't even mean they're done.
No,
they could see Jack out there, and they can. By the way, Nicholas Morrow has no guaranteed money, so
tells you all you need to know.
Right, so he may not even make the team if they don't like what they're seeing. I don't think it'll be that extreme, but if they don't like what they're seeing out of Jack and Cunningham, these are both very low money deals, and I'm sure nothing's guaranteed to them either. My point is, they may not be done. They may watch these guys play for a couple, what do we have, 3 weeks or whatever of training camp and say, I'm not happy with this and make a trade. This was just two guys you grabbed off the street. You didn't have to give anything up for. So look, this is a work in progress. And we know that. We know Howie's history and we know Nick's history. They will not sit around if they're unhappy with what a position is looking like. So, I don't think this is nothing to see here. Keep moving along. I think it tells you, and I know they're a little bit banged up and some depth guys are hurt, but still, I think there's a little bit more to this, that they're not loving the way the linebacker play has been thus far.
When you take into fact, and I brought this up when we had Ray Didinger on Friday, the fact that the losing NFC team in a Super Bowl has not returned the next year since the Minnesota Vikings did it back in 74, 75. That's a telling tale, and it tells you how difficult it is just to get back there. Yeah. It also tells you that even though this team has 7 new faces on defense, Howie Roseman is beating the bush, doing everything that he can to try to make that product on defense that much better, that much stronger. And maybe one of these guys or both of these guys is that missing link on the defense. We still have question marks in the back end on the safety position. But then again, we talk about this all the time. When you've had the kind of success this team had last year, every buzzard circling trying to pick off your carcass. And we saw it happen. Right. Coaching staff as well as players. Now you've got to rebuild. And because it looked one way in April and May, as Howie tells us every year and shows us every year, doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it's going to look in August, September, October. Mm-hmm. He's always thinking, always moving. He's constantly having conversations with his coaches. And if his coaches tell him, you know what, Howie, we could get a little different. I need something a little different, a little bigger, a little faster laterally. How he's going to move heaven and earth to try to make it happen.
Totally. And that's one of the things you love. You have an uber aggressive general manager. You have a guy who will not look. They know they're on the precipice of winning a Super Bowl last year. It is full speed ahead. This is not a rebuild. This isn't like if you're rebuilding this thing, you just throw young kids out there and you see what happens. Who cares? No, you're trying to win right now. This is not learn on the job. You don't have that kind of luxury. These guys are going to have to be up to speed really fast and really prove it. And if they don't, then somebody else will be in there. Trust me when I tell you that. I don't care where Nakobe Dean was drafted. I know he was a 3rd-round pick. They just cut a 3rd-round pick and Davion Taylor. So you got to perform. And if you don't perform, none of this will matter. That's for sure. I can guarantee you that. That job is not a given. So we'll talk about that. We'll get a little bit more, and we're going to get full impressions of what the open practice looked like. I'll just give you one, Derek, that I'm a little concerned with.
Okay.
Everything I'm reading about Marcus Mariota in terms of throwing the football, not running the ball, but throwing the football. And it hasn't been good in practice. It wasn't good last night either. When you have somebody like Jalen Hurts who will take off with the football, there's always that risk that he could go down. I don't think he's reckless, but it's the NFL. And you get tackled the wrong way and stuff happens.
Right.
You need him for a few games, and you're in one of these, dogfight kind of games that you could be in after the bye week. I don't know that Mariota can go toe for toe with some of these big boys that he might be facing if you have to either mount a comeback or you're in a back and forth kind of game. I wonder about it.
But the Eagles needed a backup quarterback, right?
They did.
Okay. When you looked at who was out there in the open market, it was the best available, Rob. I mean, that tells you how thin the backup market really is, And that's not a knock against Mariota.
Yeah. It's the reality.
It's the reality of what it is.
The drop off from 1s to 2s is gigantic.
Yes. And the fact that he continues to struggle today, well, you still have a month before you hit the ground running. Okay. And I'm not assuming that we're going to need to see a Mariota early in the season.
Yeah.
If Jalen Hurts stays the course, he's going to be fine all the season. We don't have to worry about seeing a Mariota. But you needed a backup. You needed somebody who's been around the block a few times.
Yeah.
And when you and look at how he goes about his business. Okay, Mariota's out of a job, right? He wants to stay in the game. You're going to take less money, especially if you don't have many suitors out there. Mm-hmm. And if Howie wants you bad enough, he's going to pay you a little bit more to come here. And in Mariota's situation, why wouldn't you want to come to the team that got oh so close to winning a Super Bowl? If you can't go back up on the team that won the Super Bowl, what's the next best option? Go to the team that came with close to winning the Super Bowl, because they're in a good position to possibly get back there again. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you want that scenario?
No, I think he absolutely would want to be here. I just hope that he can, perform when called upon if necessary. That's what worries me about him. But look, again, we're talking about a backup quarterback, and you could apply that to almost every NFL team. If you get to that point and it's a backup, it's not going to matter anyway. You're going to be in big, big trouble. All right, so we will talk about it at 12:30. Also, Phillies over the weekend. They take 2 of 3 from Kansas City, Derek. It was an ugly one Friday. Yep. In terms of the way that they played. But something really unique.
This just in. Aaron Nola gave up 2 more home runs.
I know. Oh, my God. Ugh. But something really unique, special, and I think something that really hit home with the players happened on Friday with the ovations, the standing ovations for Trey Turner. Now, he didn't have what you call a big-time game on Friday. He did have an RBI single.
Right.
But you saw the same kind of response from the fan base on Saturday, and he himself responded with a home run and a double. I want to say 6 RBIs, whatever it was, 4 RBIs, sorry, and 2 gems in the field. 2 balls where he really picked in the field.
Yep.
Let me start there. What did you think about the whole thing? And clearly, you hear Bryce Harper, you hear what Trey Turner said, you heard what Rob Thompson said. They loved it. What did you think about the standing ovations?
I've been here over 25 years. I've never been prouder of the Philadelphia fan base. From Bryce Harper's perspective, especially coming off that road trip, it's got to be swirling in the back of your mind. What am I going to hear when I step to the plate? The fact that these fans got up and gave this man a standing ovation, letting them know that they're behind you 100%. You know how mind settling that is, just to go out there and try to do your job? He's been very honest and open about the struggles he's endured all season long. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he's read the press clips. And, there are people up and down social media and in the media that have chastised him for being at the top of the league in terms of errors, nowhere near the batting average and the run production people expected him to produce. And this fan base on Friday and Saturday went out there and gave this man a standing ovation to let him know, look, we are with you. And I think that helped him relax in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had 3 consecutive at-bats between Saturday and Sunday where they were double base hits.
Yeah, hard. Yeah, hard hit balls. Yep.
Hard hit balls, Yep. And, you just mentioned he made 2 great plays in the field. He might have booted one of those plays before Saturday. We can't expect him. We're waiting to see which ball he's going to boot. He played a solid weekend.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time we can say he's played a solid weekend. Do you remember saying that?
No, I can't remember. It doesn't feel like he's put like an entire series together. Maybe all year. I mean, certainly none of them memorable.
No.
For sure.
It was back in early May or something.
Yeah. Here's what I think is interesting, like at least for me. There was a precedent last year with Bohm. And it worked. But I think a couple things have to happen along the way, Derek.
Yeah.
You need to be accountable.
Yep.
Bohm made his mistakes, said what he said after the game, stood up.
Yep.
My bad. I'm frustrated. I have to fix this. Fixed it. The rest is history. The guy's been awesome for them.
Yep.
Turner, to his credit, has never once pointed a finger, gave you an excuse. In fact, said the other day, I blew the game. He said, I blew the game for us. Period. Yep. So at every stop, he's owned it. There's a human party that looks at the guy and you're like, boy, this guy's a mess right now. You could just see it. He was like lost, his eyes. You could just see it in his eyes. So I think with all of that backdrop, like if he was just some jerk who was like, what do you want me to do, man? I'm doing everything I can. It's hard playing in Philadelphia. Like that doesn't happen if you're not accountable. So I think it was a great example of the city having some empathy and trying an approach that was new, and the player really being appreciative. And you know, it wasn't just him; it was his teammates too, Derek. They really all were like, "Wow, this is cool." And I think all those things, all those sort of good vibes that were generated, helped this guy. I really believe it helped this guy.
Go back to Bohm for just a moment. When he got caught, he booted a ball at third base in 2022. Yep. And did Mike's catch him? What did he say under his breath about Philadelphia? What did he say?
I hate this place or something.
I hate this town. Okay. And then came out and said, that's on me. A young player. So he came, and the fans jumped behind him. Mm-hmm. They could have jumped down his throat. You know, we've seen it. We've seen his fan base rip players apart. Okay. Yeah. They could have jumped down. The fact that he owned the mistake, they rallied. That's what he said. I effing hate this place. Okay. Yep. They rallied around him. Yep. And ever since then, you're right. He smoothed out his game. Mm-hmm. And look at the way he's playing now. Yeah. And the same thing with Turner. See, these players, if the players need to understand, if you own your mess, Philadelphia will forgive you for that. Yeah. Now, they may still boo you at times, but because you're a stand-up guy, you should know this. You're from here. Yeah. You know, if you're a stand-up guy, they're going to back you. They're going to give you your grace period. And what Trey Turner did this weekend is the start of the Trey Turner that we've been waiting to see all season long.
I think we have seen it in other ways too, in other circumstances too. You know, I know how it's sort of been spun now, but Markelle Fultz got like almost unconditional support when he was here. People rooting him on when he would shoot a jump shot or a free throw. Yeah. Because they knew he was going through something. Ben Simmons, up until the end when it got ugly, people still had this guy's back. You remember he would make a free throw. They would go crazy over it because they were trying to get him going. So there is an element of like support that you get here that is unique and is I think counter to what the reputation is nationally, at least. The rep nationally is, they're just cretins. They're the worst, blah, 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 blah. And I don't think that's the case, but you're right, Derek. If you're not accountable, you don't give effort, then you're going to get killed. Exactly. You will get killed.
Exactly.
You know, and that if the other pieces are in place, then I think, you know, things can change. Now, look, Turner goes on an 0 for 30 streak. Trust me, the standing ovations are going to stop at some point. But it was just in a time and a moment they were back home and that the fans gave the guy a little bit of support. And I'm good with it. Like, I understand there's a line at some point that you draw. You can't do it every game, et cetera. And I know some people will say, well, why don't you do it for Schwarber? He was sticking up the joint until yesterday. Why don't you do it for Nola? Because first of all, do you treat all your kids the same way? No. I don't. No. Right? Everybody's different. Those guys have been here for a while. You were trying to show a guy who was a newcomer a little bit of love. And I think it worked. Let me show you this. So this was with Trey Turner or the Phillies. I'm not sure exactly who decided to do this, but check out these. These are billboards around the city. And that's Turner in between the U and the Philly. So thank you, Philly. And that's Trey Turner there. But that to me, like any kind of, you know, showing of gratitude like that.
Yes.
Tells you something about this person or this team.
Whether it was the Phillies, whether it was Trey Turner's representative taking the initiative, whether it was Trey, that's a great marketing ploy right there. You know, the fan base let you know that they're still behind you. And instead of waiting until the end of the season, you jumped on it right away to thank Philadelphia. They embrace stuff like this, dude. Yep. Trey Turner is going to Trey Turner may continue to struggle, but the two are meshed now. They're entwined now. It's a marriage. It's a marriage. This is not going to be a quick marriage. They understand the potential of this guy. They've seen it when he's played elsewhere. They saw it in the World Baseball Classic. They know what he could possibly do. Mm-hmm. And you got to keep your fingers crossed and hope that he comes out of this at the most strategic time. As these teams continue to jockey for a position for the wild card spot, and right now the Phillies are in that prime, you're going to need Trey Turner. They understand it's going to be all hands on deck, and fans are hoping that this team just wakes up offensively and just takes off in September like they should. You know, I said it last week, and I'll say it again. When you stack this Phillies lineup against every other lineup they're in contention for a wild card spot with, there's no other team in wild card contention that can match the Phillies from 1 through 9 in a batting order, and that includes Kyle Schwarber, who's hitting below the Mendoza line. He's still, when he hits a home run, it's majestic. You know,
agreed. Yeah, agreed. And he had a big day yesterday. Yep, and that's
not the typical leadoff guy, but man, does he provide a pop in the front of that lineup.
And that's one of the takeaways is not only just like all of Harper had a big weekend. Schwarber yesterday, Castellanos went yard yesterday. Turner, all the guys we've been screaming about, it can't just be Stott and it can't just be Bohm. Well, you guys got to start pulling your weight. So they all pulled their weight. If there's any takeaway from the series, yes, you won 2 out of 3, but it's also that those guys look like they're on the right path now. So
and now we've lost Marsh for a while.
Right. And that was tough. He went into that thing hard. But the good thing is there's nothing structurally wrong. It's just it's a deep bruise and he's swollen and he's sore and he's I think it'll be about 2 weeks, which is could have been worse, for sure.
But if the front of the order starts hitting the ball the way they hit this weekend, as much as I'm a big Marsh Stott, Bone fan, but if those other guys, the big money guys, start hitting like this on a consistent basis, and you know what, Marsh, if you need more than 2 weeks, take your time. If these other guys are holding their weight, if it's 3 weeks, take your time so you can get ready for the stretch run.
I agree with you. All right, let's get a timeout. We have Chris Franklin from NJ.com, who was at Eagles open practice last night. We will discuss that with Chris and just everything that he's seen thus far through training camp, and we'll certainly talk to him about the Eagles making the linebacker move. So let's get a timeout. We'll come back with Chris. We'll continue with the Eagles discussion. He's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take. Let's hit the like button as well, friends, if we could. All right, I'm going to tell you about Bravo Pizza. I was in there on Thursday night. Got the wings and the fries. Killers. Just absolute killers. And I'm thrilled that they're a part of the show, part of the channel. Bravo Pizza of Havertown. I've been going there since I was a kid. They've been in business since 1985. You got Alex and the crew in there just cranking out the most fresh, best food possible. All right. They have 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go, specialized pizza the way that you want it. And they don't just have pizza, fresh pasta, sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads. Bravo Pizza of Havertown is also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charities, for schools, for little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You could follow them at the Bravo Pizza of Havertown on Instagram and Facebook for daily specials and promotions. They're at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center, Havertown. Give them a call, 610-446-3810. 610-446-3810. Bravo Pizza of Havertown.